In this video series, I'm going to be carving a mini-me marionette. I say mini-me because his face will look as close to mine as possible. Welcome to the Grumpy Old Guy Wood Carving Studio. My name is Harry. Let's get started. I bought myself a new toy yesterday at Harbor Freight. It's a little 9-inch bench top bandsaw. And no, I'm not going to do an unboxing video. There it is. It's a cheap model from Harbor Freight, but I won't be using all that much. I got it sitting on my carving bench, which is in my living room. So I've got my shop vac sticking in the exhaust port on the back. So we'll see how it works. If it gets too dusty in here, then I'll have to start taking it outside on days when it's not raining. Not too bad. The shop vac catches most of the dust. Like I said, we're not going to be using it all that much. Just to cut out a few shapes now and then, which is going to save me a heck of a lot of time and effort because I've been using hand tools to cut out most of my work. Wow, that was fast. That would have taken me darn near all day to cut out all those parts with a handsaw and get into the right shapes. I used to own a house years ago, and my garage was filled with woodworking tools. I carved everything from little 1-inch tall figures all the way up to a 4-foot ship's figurehead. I had everything I needed. Now I'm living in an apartment, trying to make do with very little, but it's possible. You don't need a heck of a lot to do these kind of things. Now that I've cut out all the pattern pieces, I'm going to take these pattern pieces. I just use manila folder. You can use heavy paper, you can use whatever paper you've got. Just obviously the heavier the paper, the more durable it's going to be. But I'm going to save them all because who knows, I might make another puppet someday. And if I do, then these will be a good starting point. They may not require much change. I might be able to just make another one with the same pattern. So we'll just set those aside for now. The next thing I'm going to do is take the head part. This is the side view. And I'm going to draw a center line on the bottom and mark a spot to drill a hole. Now this is about right there. So I want the head to balance like that kind of. But there's two reasons I'm going to drill the hole. First off, I'm going to attach one of these wood carving screws to hold it to my bench. This one, I kind of like this one because it tapers and gets wider. On larger pieces, if your hole starts to strip out, then you can drill another hole and send it deeper, and the wider it gets, the tighter it'll grip. And this is one that I just put together myself from parts that I found at one of the big box stores, like Home Depot or Lowe's. Even maybe a local hardware store would have parts of these. I think this is for a flue valve or something like that. But this is just a piece of wood, a washer. I think we'll stick with this one for today. The second reason I'm drilling the hole here in the head is because I'm going to take, this is going to be the neck piece. I'm going to round it and then dome the top, and then I'll drill a hole straight through the center and feed a string through it, and that'll become our rotation point for our head. I want the head to be able to move from side to side or forward and back when I'm manipulating the strings. I'm guessing what size bit I'm going to use. I just eyeball it by putting it up against this thing. So we'll see if that'll work. I think it's a 1/4 inch. My old eyes are having a hard time seeing the fractions on there because they're so small. But I've got a piece of tape on there as a depth gauge. I don't want to go any deeper than this because that'll put me up into the hat area, and I'm not sure how much of that I'm going to carve away. But I'm probably only going to go about this deep for now, about a 1/2 inch. About a 1/2 inch, and see if the screw will hold that. I can always go a little bit deeper, and I can go wider if I have to. See if that'll work. And then of course this is all going to be mounted on my carving arm so that I don't have to hold the head. Yeah, that'll work, I think. Yep. It's pretty tight. Now this area here, the bill of the hat, the grain is coming in this direction. So I got to be very careful about what I do with the brim of the hat. I may not take away a lot of this down underneath, and I may not do much shaping up on the top of it until the very end, because of course if it snaps off, then I probably just glue it back on there and keep on going, but I've still got to be very careful about it. I don't want to snap it off. And if I was making this for somebody with kids, I would probably cut it so that the top of the hat, cut two separate parts, the hat and the head. And the hat, then I would cut it so that the grain was going in this direction instead of this direction. That way it'd be more durable and it would hold up better if it fell on its face. If you didn't see my earlier video, this is just, it's actually a carving arm. It's oak. It's got 3 pieces of wood laminated together here and back here for the arm part of it, and then there's just a joint cut in here that uses one of these for tightening and loosening. All right, so the next step is to take our wood and our screw and just tighten down the. I like this. I don't remember where I got this, but it's got a wrench in the end there so that I can put it in here and tighten it down if I'm really cranking down, or to loosen it up also. But you got to have this big washer here, otherwise your screw will go up. Stick him on there, and I want to move him up close. But the first thing I'm going to do, if this will hold it and not pull out, I don't want to crank it down too tight, is I want to round the head out. See, right now the face is very flat. I need to give it more curvature, and I mentioned in an earlier video that the face is actually on a 90-degree angle here. So, and for caricatures you don't have to go that deep, but this, I want this guy to look somewhat like me, so he's got to have more of a angle to his face from the nose back to the cheeks. So let's just start there. I'm going to draw in the top of the brim, hat brim. That's my do not go zone. And then from here down, I'll just go ahead and start taking it back. And I'll worry about drawing the face in after I've got the shape. I'll have to refer constantly to my pictures. it down just a little bit more. Basically, that's all I'm going to do for a while, is just get the rough shape. I'm not worried about details yet. Details will come much later. The most important thing to do right now is to get that shape. While I'm getting the basic shape of the face, going back in this direction, I'm also identifying different features that have to be cut back. I don't want to cut it down to the finished dimensions, but this is the bridge of the nose here, so I'm getting close to the actual shape of the nose, but leaving myself plenty of room to play with later on. I'll start cutting in the bottom of the nose and taking back where the beard is and the chin. But I was talking earlier about this hat and the grain going in this direction. Well, I slipped and I already popped off the edge, but I think we're going to be okay. I think we can work with that. I don't think it's going to. The hat actually is up here and goes back further. So I think it's well within our limits there. So I think we'll be okay there. I'm going to leave, here's the brim of the hat right there. So I'm going to leave some of this down here so that this doesn't break off as I'm working with the rest of it. The hat brim will be the last thing I work on. Hopefully, if I have to, then I'll just slice off the top of the hat and then recut it like I said, so that the grain is going in this direction. Is that what I want? No. Yes. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So I also cut out a pattern for the profile. And you can see this here is the bridge of the nose. This is the bottom of the nose. So I'm going to cut out some of this here. And here's from the bottom of the nose to the top of the lips and mustache area. So I'm just going to take out some of this just to identify. I want to, like I said, I want to leave enough there that I can shape it as I need to. No final cuts at this point. We're just roughing out. So let's use my V tool here. And just come down here below the bottom of the nose. And that gives me, like I said, plenty of space to so the forehead up here underneath the brim of the hat, I'm not touching that for now. When I get to the point where I'm going to start putting in the eyes, the final details for the face, then I'll start shaping that back. And I have to be extremely careful with this area here. Okay. Just like the brim of the hat up here, you don't want to take off a whole lot of area underneath here, because again the grain is running vertically and I could pop the nose right off of there. Then we either have to start all over or use some wood putty to model us a new nose here. We could have a putty nose. No disrespect for Carl Malden, but that's what they used to call Carl Malden, if you're old enough to know who he is. If not, Google him. I think you'll see why. Sorry, Carl. No disrespect, but you already heard that one 100 times. I think he's passed a long time ago. Anyway, moving on. All right, another thing I want to do is I've got the center line drawn in there, and I've identified the nose. I've given them a wider nose than they probably need because my nose isn't that wide compared to my face. But I've also got enough wood here on the sides to identify some ears. Obviously the face is going to be narrower than this piece of wood, but you also have to leave room for stuff that sticks out like ears. Kind of looks like Ben from the Fantastic Four. I started taking out some of the wood on the front of his face to identify his nose and his eyes, and now I'm working on the sides. I've used my pattern to indicate where the edges of the head and the face are. And I still might wind up taking more back to give it more of a 90-degree angle in this area to here, because that's what my features are, and since I'm making a mini-me, I want him to be as realistic as possible. This is going to be, I'm afraid it's probably going to be more than 3 videos to this series, because I'm going to take my time on it. Like I said, I'm experimenting. I'm trying to figure out how to do this while I'm making it. So I could cut out a large portion of the information and just skip from step to step and show you the results, or I can show you a little bit more information. Probably do a combination of both. Put on my leather work glove because the edge of this wood is tearing up the end of my hand, so you gotta be careful now. If you start cutting towards yourself, this glove will not stop this tool from cutting. Only the Kevlar gloves will do that. So don't use this as a carving glove. Use it as I'm using it. If you use tools like this and your hand is butted up against hard oak or any hardwoods. I don't know how old you guys are, but the older you get, the thinner your skin gets, and it just tears up. And getting old sucks, but that's part of life. Only the lucky get old, I guess. So, I guess I'm pretty lucky. As I'm carving, occasionally I'll stop and take a look, sight down the side here to see this side needs to come down more, and over here on this back, that needs to come back more. So take your time. This part is critical if you're trying to be accurate with your carving. The more time you take and the more time you take to shape it, then the more successful your carving will be. It looks even more like Ben from the Fantastic Four. But anyway, we're still in the roughing stages, so we're not going to take this down to a finished level. I purposely make my patterns slightly bigger than finished level, and now I've pretty much got this part shaped. I'm going to turn him around and start rounding out the back, because we don't want a blockhead here. So I'll be back after I'm done. Gotten started on rounding out the back of the head. Still got a long ways to go, but I've identified the bottom of the cap, And the front of the ear is halfway between the nose, tip of the nose, and the back of the head. So I've still got quite a bit to do to rough this out before I start putting in detail. But I wanted to identify the ear because that's going to be the highest point on both sides. So if I start taking it back down to the level just above the finished level of the ear, then this area back in here will have to go back. In front of the ears, have to go back. The plane of the face, I've still got to put in some more of the plane of the face, which means I need to make this more of a 90-degree angle between the nose and the cheeks. And I think that's what we're going to finish up with this part. It's like I say, it's going to be multiple parts because this part's going to be the hardest part. It's rendering my face onto this guy. Now we've got a good start going on our head. Still got a long way to go yet. He's getting there. He's starting to take shape. So if you like what you see, you want to catch more of the progress on this carving, please like and subscribe so you can get those notifications. Now, get off my lawn.